Hello folks, Brew.com here, and we are in the process of bringing you modern metagame analysis for the past few weeks. About a week ago, I produced and uploaded a video analyzing standard portion of SCG States Championships. Today I will go through the modern portion of it in the table I did around the same time. The actual States Championship events happened about 2 weeks ago, but to sort of give you a better picture, a bigger picture, I would also go through the deck lists and archetypes for modern for the events that followed up the States Champs. So deck list from the events last weekend, and I would also go through a couple of the last published modern Magic Online daily events. So let's start. As for the table for the States Champs, I grouped all the archetypes and also split up their performances regarding their top 8 finishes. So 5th to 8th place, top 4, that means further 4th place, and then 2nd and 1st. I had only the data from the top 8 list, so I couldn't actually break down the metagame as a whole for all of the decks that have been played during those States Champs. As you can see, I grouped the archetypes also according to the tires. Tire 1, Tire 2, and the Rogue decks. The grouping for tires is a bit arbitrary, and it's courtesy of my knowledge and thinking of the format, so you are free to disagree with that. Also, here in the highlighted dark red color you see all the twin variants, and only Grixis version and straight blue red version of twin actually have been proven as to be Tier 1 decks. However, I've put the Jeskai and Timur variants here for convenience, so feel free to neglect those two rows if you wish so. Basically the clear winner based on the States Champs is Affinity, followed up probably by Jant. Burn also had good statistics, but it was most of them were stocked in the quarterfinals. They didn't advance further than that. Other decks, Abzan Midrange, Amulet Bloom, Red Green Tron, Merfolks, in fact, Grixis Control, Twin Variants, Elves. That completes the Tier 1, though Elves is probably on the verge and in fact is falling down, and Twin is falling down, but in the long term, in that perspective, those decks are probably gonna be still in Tier 1, even though Elves is somewhere on the verge and some decks are falling out of favor. So the clear top dogs, Affinity, Abzan, Jant, and perhaps Amulet. Burn is trying to catch up. Merfolk is still out there. Seems to be a pretty good deck. The numbers are not super impressive. Maybe it's because of the pilots, and also because the deck actually is not played by so many players. Then we go for Tier 2. Different Delver variants. Blue-Red, Grixis, Timur, Jeskai, whatever flavor you may think of. Very low numbers, but it's still a deck you can play, though it's probably not going to be super competitive. Out of the Tier 2 decks that probably are on the verge of making it to Tier 1 at some point or during some weeks, it's probably Abzan Company, because as you can see, 12 decks. Livinand is also fine, 7 decks in the top 8. Nye Company, 7 decks. Jeskai Control, surprising 8 copies. That's basically a throw-in from about a year or even more ago. Basically hardcore Jeskai control deck with only win conditions and sometimes Singleton Vendilion clicked and a Johnny Vengeance, Snapcasters, Colonnades, and that's pretty much it. Maybe an Elspeth somewhere, things of that nature. Very grindy, very hardcore Jeskai control type of decks. Then we also see here Ad Nauseam, Blue A Control, Green White Hate Bears, Boggles, Black White Tokens, Scapeshift, a deck that I think is really underrated, but it seems like despite a big appeal of the deck, in practice it doesn't get there all that often. However, we still have a few more additional deck lists to check out after the Sable. So the past weekend of SCG Modern Events and also a couple of Magic Online dailies. Then Blue Red Storm, that's the Paramentor Ascension plus Past and Flames combo Lantern control deck that is probably also underrated and underestimated, but somehow it just doesn't show up in big numbers, or it doesn't show up any huge results. It did win a GP, it did come second I believe at another one, but the deck just in the long term perspective doesn't show up consistent results somehow. Maybe because losing an Ensnaring Breach to something like Abrupt Decay is a very huge deal, and that is a very big vulnerability of the deck. I'm not very sure. Reanimator doesn't show up that much. It's a very strong deck. It can take down tournaments. I'm really surprised to see so low numbers, maybe because not very many people feel comfortable with the deck. Plus, it uses a lot of very specific cards, which are only played in that deck. So maybe there is why not many people just have it on paper. Soul Sisters, different variants of it, straight mono white, splashing red, splashing black, Living Twin, another Rogue deck, Abzan Aggro is basically green white hay bears with black, red green aggro is sort of a landfall-ish deck, it's basically like a burn deck just with more creatures. Mono Black Devotion is a spicy one, not gonna show it to you, you can probably fetch it up. Just go to SCG's website and then on the right side, so scroll down to the deck list, go into Modern Persian and then search for more deck lists, input the data for the weekend of 17th to 18th of October and Modern, and then narrow it down to States Championships. So that's normally how you use their decklist archive. Threadwine, Goblins, Red Red, 1 copy Blue Moon, Mardu Pox, No Delver Timur Tempo, that's how I tagged it. It's basically Timur Tempo aggro deck with no Delver, but otherwise very similar. Then White Red Hate Bears. You just substitute green from the Hate Bear Stuff and Texas type of deck and put in bolts and helixes, that sort of jazz. Though I still like the green-white version way more. Okay, going up to the events that came down last weekend. Not very many of them, to be precise just about 6, but that still gives us 48 deck lists, so some data to catch up on. And surprisingly we see a bunch of twin decks and Grixis control decks taking down first spots and the Scapeshift deck. So that's why I meant to not actually rush down and count away on the Grixis decks and twin decks. On the other hand, you see that some of the data is actually doubled, so we might have even actually less events than that. Not too many. So as you can see, some data is doubled. Anyways, big point to pay attention to here is that Grixis Intro is piloted by Dan Chase, so one of the Star City Open Series pro player, basically grinder. So that is something to factor in during this evaluation. Merfolk, John, Burn, 2 more Scapeshift, well, 1 more Scapeshift. Still, that makes it up like to 2 Scapeshifts. One went first and 1 and second in SCG IQs. A Zoo deck, another actually Scapeshift deck, so that's 3 of them. So it's a really underrated deck. So I think a lot more people should play it. On the other hand, the Scapeshift deck lost a dig, but it didn't actually need it a huge deal. It was probably quite good, but now that dig is out, a lot of like I don't know, dig was out actually. Oh, sorry, I'm mixing up stuff with Legacy, because it's been on my mind recently a little bit. So what I do not like in a lot of Scapeshift decks is the Coilen Oracle. This list doesn't actually play it and plays way more creatures than it should. Only 1 Snapcaster. That must be about the availability. You want to play it. You want to play 2. 1 is okay, but 2 is way more in that kind of a deck. Only 3 Scapeshifts. That's interesting. So yeah, the Brintolite. That's the crazy addition to the deck. That's the very crazy addition to the deck. That's why only 3 copies of Scapeshift, because essentially you have like 6 copies in your deck thanks to Brintolite. But it can also get you some other nasty things. He doesn't actually get to abuse the power of Brintolite in this type of deck very much. Well, so this probably explains just 1 copy of Snapcaster Mage in the deck. 1 Corsair around Dylan, yeah, it's okay. So he wants few value creatures in there, but still, he could have done way more interesting things. Timely. Does have mana to actually cast it? Yes, so 1 Plains, 1 Hallowed Fountain in the deck. And a Verdict, oh my. That's an interesting list. But I see a lot of other interesting things you could do with the deck. Prismatic Omen just doesn't feel like you need it, and 4 copies of a card that, like, okay, yeah, it speeds you up a lot. But on the other hand, like, you barely ever want to draw multiples, and it takes up 4 slots in the deck. It's a very rare card to see in Scapeshift decks right now, unless you're like red-green version, but a bit more dedicated than just prime time strategy. Let's look at the Mardupox. It showed up in my table earlier as well. A lot of land hate between Boom, Pox, Fulminators, which can be brought back by Colgan's Command. Liliana is for discard portion against Smallpox. And then you have Master Removal like Damnation, Wrath of God. You have Spell Removal, Lightning Helix, and Lightning Bolts. Gideon for the extra punch when you kind of disrupted your opponent enough. I kind of want to see Path to Exile somewhere in the list, but maybe because of the Master Removal it's not super needed. Cyborg is also spicy, bunch of hate cards, Sony Silence, Ragdos Charm, Weird Terror, Shatter Storm, Slaughter Games for combos, Fought Season, Inquisition for more help against control and combos, more Master Removal, Anger, Wrath of God. So yeah, I do like the list, the archetype. It has potential. It's a bit of a slow deck, but it's very grindy and very rounded up. Nothing silly here. Even though it sometimes may struggle against Tarmogoyfs, but you still have like Lilianas and Damnation Wrath of God, and you can block it with Lingering Souls and such. Until you deal with other small creatures via Ball, Helix, Command, and then they're forced to sacrifice Tarmogoyf to Liliana or Smallpox, for example. Four colors is another spicy thing here. Free Spellskite's main deck, why not? But then you look down and then you see 4 Dorans, a Siege Tower. Then you see Zur, which can go and grab Assault Formation and then act as a... The formation can act as a 5th Doran, make an Enchanter attack for 4 and Spellskite attack for 4, things like that. But for the times when you do have a Doran and you have an attacking Zur, then instead of formation you can always grab a Detention Sphere, get rid of some permanent, or just grow your guy with Unflinching Courage. And then you have Decays, Paths, discard spells to actually disrupt your opponent. But then you have a nice spicy toolbox for Zur. From the sideboard, you have Blind Obedience, Choke, Ghostly Priest, Monastery Siege, I believe against Burn Dax, Choke against Blue Dax, obviously. Blind Obedience, hard to say exactly against what, but a very nice target. Could help you to grind out games and help you to race. Rest in Peace, Rune Hallow for combo. Sony Silence, Affinity Tron, Suppression Fields for a number of decks. Also good against Affinity, I believe. Next last round for Burn. Nice blocker that you can get with a Zur as well. And it also can just attack for 5 thanks to Doran or Formation. Purge for a bunch of different decks. Mainly like Jund and the like, and Swan Song for extra help against combo decks. For those of you who are fans of Abzan Company, let's look at one of the lists. This is an all-in version with 4 chords and no non-creature spells other than 4 chords and 4 Cocos. He plays 1 Varels in addition to 2 Viserys Seers. I do like the voice main deck. I think it's a fantastic card. Never been super fan of Quasalo Pride Mage. In the main deck, there are some matchups where it's just a mediocre card, but you do want access to it in your deck. I do like it way more than Rex Sage, for a reason that it can just stay there. It's good on its own, and when you flip it off company, you're not too sad, and it's still the same mana you need in terms of corridor calling, so you're not too sad about that. And then it can just stay there and they can never go for it, and if they think that okay, they can deal with it first and then play a Splinter Twin or that crucial aura spell, Then you can protect it with spell skies or get it back with witness, stuff like this. What I don't like in this list is that it's very soft to Tron and Amulet. Choke is only gonna help you a little bit against blue decks, but those blue decks actually right now play a lot of fast lands, the Meridian ones and the Creeping Tar Pits and things like that. So Choke is okay, but I would much rather prefer Fulminator, which is also good against those decks, but it also helps you in those very bad matchups, which you can sometimes simply neglect fully, but I wouldn't do that. Once in Collector sideboard is a nice card, but he also has one main deck, which is okay, but with 4 chords and no paths or decays, I would much rather prefer to see something like 1 copy of Thing Hunter in the main deck. Something to deal with Tastic or Scavengers, things like that. Sometimes, quite often you actually need that effect. I've actually sometimes won the game through an active Emrakul just by getting the Thing Hunter, get rid of Emrakul, and then because my opponent only had Worm Coils, which were not doing much because I had infinite life by that point somehow, so he didn't draw Stone or Ugin or Pyroclasm, which I know is really lucky and really insane, but that's what happened. He did get Emrakul going because he wasn't sure what my deck was doing, so he searched up even or played out some spell skies, which didn't do anything, obviously. And then, yeah, just comboed off turn after. So Thing Hunter is a nice utility creature. Because of Eternal Witness, it's great. I also like Revelark a lot in the sideboard for grindy matchups. Only one path, which is a bit sad. It does have a Stony Silence to help against Tron decks a bit. The rest is pretty self-explanatory. This is one of my favorite decks, and I think we would see a lot more of it. Though it's gonna be pretty hard to tune the deck more. Mono Blue Time Walks. Sorry. Basically, you win with a Thassa, or just mill them out and use Elixir to not deck yourself. Or you can also, as funny as it is, grind it out until you have actually 10 mana, which is a hard task, but you have 24 lands and you draw a lot of cards. So you need 1 mana up, and then for 9 you take an extra turn, you awaken a land, make it a 6/6, attack, take an extra turn, attack for 6 once more, and maybe you draw into another Time Walk, and that's it. Quite often 3 attacks from a 6/6 is enough because of shock lands and fetches. To slow them down, you have Cryptic Command, Giga Draws to tap their permanents at upkeep so that they can't cast anything. Sorcery Speed, Remand, Spell Snare, Tangling Time helps you to dig, as well as Serum Visions. Draw more cards with Chase, and especially with Dictate. Dictate is better in this deck instead of Holding Mine, because while it costs 1 more mana, but it helps you to activate Thassa, which is your probably main win condition. Also, it has Flash, so you can sit up on your counterspell mana, and if they don't do anything serious, just play it out on the turn, or just use mana to counter something, things like that. Also, it deprives them of 1 card because of the Flash, because if on turn 3 you would have an option to have mana for Dictate or Holding Mine, unless you had something like, let's say, a Spell Snare or Spell Pierce. You would much rather hold on and cast Dictate at their end of turn, because if you cast Holding Mine on their draw step, they get the card. This deprives them of one extra card, basically. I've also one additional win condition in the form of Laboratory Maniac in the sideboard. When you really go low on cards, probably comes in against control decks. So this is your time walk, this is your time walk, that's your time walk, and that's another time walk which you can buy back sometimes. Everrise for creature decks, additional Giga Draws for control, Recall for affinity, Pearson's Song for combo and control, some bounce spells for nasty enchantments, like which won't allow you to play multiple spells, for example. For something like Eidolon the Free Taurik, let's say, you need those cards. Well, maybe not so much for Eidolon, although I'm not sure. You still have Cryptic in the main deck to bounce something, so maybe not exactly Eidolon, but other stuff like Choke, for example, would be insane against this deck, I guess. I don't know, it's just like something you want access to. I'm sorry. Then one Reanimator deck. How it works: turn 1 looting, turn 2 vengeance into Grizzlebrand, attack, draw some cards, maybe draw a Snoring Shawl, remove Barbarigmas or Worm, get a bunch of life, draw more cards, eventually draw into guides and rituals, which you can color through Manimorphose to cast more lootings and maybe get with Grease Vengeance something like Barbarigmas into play, and then kill them off with the lands that you throw them at their face, thanks to the ability of the Barbarigmas. Or you can just set it up that on the same turn you attack with Grizzlebrand, for example, ramp into enough mana, then through the breach worm, you're not gonna be able to attack with it. Then unless you feel frisky enough to draw a bunch of cards before you attack with that Grizzlebrand. So, or you can just through the breach, the worm. Even during your second main, and the turn it dies, gives you 3 5/5s, and that also can do the job. And then a bunch of cards like for everything that could matter or stop you. It's actually straight black-red. That also, like, you don't really need more colors. A lot of people use up green in there, but I don't think it's really needed. Something like Abrupt Decay is nice, but you got Thoughtseize and you got Pact, so it should be okay-ish. Okay, now let's go for MODO Daily Events. That's basically a zoo deck. Big points here. Burning Tremissor is back. Rampager is back. Experiment 1 is back. So keep that in mind. Now you can use those cards, and apparently it works. This guy has been 4-0. Even Chain to the Rocks in the sideboard. Oh my god. Oh my freaking god. Here is Union in the sideboard. Okay. Well, his creatures apart from Tarmogoyf are not insane. And he uses normal Rampager like for Blood Rush, so Guess Feed the Clan is worse than Heroes Union in this deck. Jesus. That's insane. Also Vines in there. That's lovely. I could see it being useful. But still surprising. Burn deck, typical night burn deck. Amulet Bloom. With Melara in the sideboard for the Infect matchup. Even Mansainzer, wow. In Amulet. Really ready for Scapeshift and Mirror Match and stuff like that, and Tron. That's also interesting. Another Amulet deck. Nothing crazy. Leaving Ant. Yeah, nothing special there. Very straightforward sideboard, by the way. Kind of it's showing. Oh no, I thought it's showing burn matchup, but no. 4 ley lines say no. Chalk Slaughter's Chower. 1 more Luminant, yeah. Very basic. Very basic. Now something nice. That's the Suicide Zoo with Taft's Shadow. And Street Trap. It kinda attempts to go combo-ish with the standard Superstar Steamroll Battle Rage and Become Immense. Way more fetchlands in this deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lands you get with your fetchies, and 7, 11 fetchies, and only 17 lands. Wow. Very spicy sideboard. Like, you could actually make up something like a new puzzle. Just show people this kind of sideboard and try to make them guess what deck it belongs to. As a matter of fact, this will be the first one I'm gonna save for that particular cause. Storm deck showing up, that's sweet. Nothing exciting here. Our Scapeshift, is that right? Yes. Hunting Wilds, whoa. Only 3 Scapeshifts. Well, yeah, Bring to Light. That's the biggest pickup for the deck. Heard Scapeshift players are not really happy with Anticipate, and a lot of them been saying that it should be rather telling time, because sometimes you want the spell and the land. You want to keep, let's say, lands maybe on top and a spell in your hand, or the other way around, but you want like sometimes 2 cards out of 3. And because of fetch lands, sometimes actually you can shuffle away that top card. That is straight blue red twin, I believe. No, that's Timur twin with Handmaster and Tarmogoyf. Yep. Yeah, nothing insane here. Very straightforward. What is that? Ah, that's the lantern control, right? Yep, we know how those looks like by now. Oh, Infernal Tutor even in the deck. That's interesting. Is it common for them to play Surgical main deck? I'm not sure. Maybe. Oh yeah, I should pardon me for a sec. This might make up for Pretty nice article, I believe. And the Tron deck. Very typical. Okay, thanks guys for watching and listening to me, and I hope you learned a thing or two, or got excited for brewing in Modern, or actually can make some big conclusions based on this data and all the information you got from here. So until the next sale, goodbye.